Saturday, November 1st. And boy, was it cold here this morning. It took till at least 1 o'clock to feel decently warm here. Yeah, I got up, I looked outside, it was down to about 39 degrees outside. And I was a little wiped out from yesterday, so I got a late start. Anyway, I did do something today, and I got this north side piece of aluminum installed. So it was a kind of a messy operation, but let me flip this around. All right, there it is. So there's the piece, and I used stainless steel screws with those little rubber grommet things to bolt it back in place. A couple of these holes I had to just caulk because they were the ones where the head popped off the old nails and I couldn't put a new nail in there. So it was this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's 4 of them that the heads popped off, and I got it caulked all the way down to the bottom. So we're all the way caulked on the north side. Let me go in and show you what it looks like from the inside. Like I said, it was a messy operation because when I was I was trying to slide in the piece, I had to put caulk on both sides so that it would seal both against the building and also the outside sheathing. So I had to kind of like hold that piece of sheathing away from the wall, slide it in there. And what I had done was I put it in temporarily, and I marked it. It's like right here and on this rafter piece, exactly where it fit. So I knew once I put it in and I slid it in here, it was almost aligned with the holes I had pre-drilled before. I was within, less than a 1/16 of an inch, and then I could just use a nail or a screw to line up the holes perfectly. So yeah, I did some caulking all around here, along the floor, along the back wall here, and also did some caulking along this back wall. Since it's all clean and there's no dirt, I figure, okay, let me just go ahead and caulk it. And then tomorrow, when I get this one in, I'll finish caulking here because this piece of sheathing has to bend out a little bit here, so I don't want to caulk too close to that bottom piece. So, all right, well, that's about it. One other thing the gooseneck lights came for the back wall. I'm going to do 2 gooseneck lights, like maybe here and here on the back side of the wall, so it'll light up the back of the Quonset hut. I'm not going to do any bar lights like I did on the front. Those are more decorative, and I just wanted something classic to put on the back wall and get some light on the back side of the building. So not quite there yet, but I'm making progress. So off I go. Hopefully I'll get it finished up tomorrow. Bye. Sunday, November 2nd, and it was cold here this morning, just like yesterday, but it warmed up in the afternoon, and I'm kind of switching it up today, doing a few different things. Finally got the southern side small piece of aluminum installed, so I'll take you around and show you that. Glad to have that done. Oof, a long time coming. All right, here we go. All right. That out. Yeah, so there it is. I got it installed. I screwed it in with stainless steel screws and those little rubber grommet thingies. They work pretty well, and it all fits pretty well. And I've got it caulked all the way down to the bottom here and all the way up to there where I had left off. So boy, we got the sun really coming through here. I don't know if you're getting that or not, but you're caulked all the way down there. And again, it was sort of a messy operation. I had to go through that 3-step process, stick it in, go into the inside, mark it, get the holes right, then take it out, put all the caulk on, stick it back in there, and then come out and seal it all up. So let's go in and take a look at what it looks like from the inside, and I'll show you what else I've been working on today. Shoot, I gotta turn some lights on. Hold on. Boom, boom. All right, lights are on. So go in the back here. I'm now caulked all the way along this back wall. This is what it looks like in the back corner here. So that's all been caulked all the way around to here. And I think I will eventually take this caulk up a little further just to fill in that gap between the wood and the metal. It's not really necessary, but I'm just going to do it for completeness sake. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm only up about, I don't know, 1.5 feet on this side. But yeah, I can just fill it in with caulk just for safety's sake or whatever. All right, so the other thing I did this morning was I put a couple of boards between these studs. That's where I'm going to mount the gooseneck lights on the back side or the back wall Quonset hut. This is an example. I pulled one out here. I don't know if you can see, I was sticking on this saw here. So it mounts on the wall like this. And then there's a big sort of umbrella thing that mounts to the actual light socket and hangs from it. But what I'm going to do is, I don't want to mount it directly onto the back wall because this little scutcheon plate, it's just too tiny. It's going to look really weird. So I'm going to make a wooden plate that's about 8 by 12 and then mount that on the wall and then mount that to the wooden board or plate. So it looks a little more, I don't know, even with the rest of the wall. Just won't be this tiny little round thing stuck on the wall. And then I'll also put something over top of it, just a little piece, something like this, that will drip off water at the top. So, and I'll paint it up. I'm thinking of using like plywood, but I'm gonna go to Lowe's, see if they have anything else that might be like solid wood instead of plywood. But plywood will work too. I'll just put several coats of paint on it and make sure it's all caulked up, and it should be fine. And if it ever does rot, it's a simple replacement. So, and then the other thing I was working on was these light bars. Got this second 2 LED light bar almost ready to go. I'm waiting for this little filled in area to dry, probably overnight. And I've got the LEDs in the 3 light one, and then in the 4 light ones, they're ready to install. So I haven't put them in yet. So it's a little bit of a tedious process because every single one of them I gotta put caulk underneath here, then I gotta caulk the back side, then I gotta put these on, and then I gotta caulk underneath that, then put the pipe in and caulk that, and put the other piece on the other end of the pipe, caulk that, and so it takes a while. And as I finish them up, I'm just sticking them over here. This is the first one that's completed. So it's got the 2 pipes on there, and it's basically ready to install. I have to drill the holes where the wires come through the building, and then I can mount it, on the wall. This is where the small one goes on the front wall. So I got to drill the holes through there. And I've got some stainless steel machine screws that I'm going to use to mount it through the wall with, because I can't really get my screwdriver in here to easily, tighten it up. So I'm going to just drill some holes and then put the machine screws in and then bolt them on the other side, like I did up there. Same concept with these bolts right there. So, all right, well, that's it. Really, it's kind of a mishmash of stuff I've been working on, but I'm making progress on multiple fronts. Okay, talk to you tomorrow. Monday, November 3rd? I'm guessing. I'm losing track. All right, anyway, it's been a short day today. Had to go into town, get some supplies, that kind of nonsense, the grocery shopping. But I did get a few things done on the back wall here. I was able to get all of the nails for this back door to pop out. So I won't have to Dremel any of them off. And I should be able to slip that other piece of aluminum in here. So yeah, that was a battle. But yeah, I think at this point, they'll all come out without any more issue. And then inside the Quonset hut, was doing a little work on the light bars. Basically, what I'm calling step 2 is complete for all the light bars. Step 2 is to fill the backside in with caulk just to seal it. So those are all done, all the light bars. And I actually finished completely the second of the small light bars. So I have the 2 smallest ones completely done and ready to install. I also put caulk on these end grains on both the top and the bottom. I'll do it with all of them. I think it's just good to seal those end grains off, even though it's been painted with multiple layers of paint. Just one more coat of caulk just helps it prevent water from getting in there. So that's really it for today. So I guess I will talk to you tomorrow. The day has come to put this piece of aluminum over the door opening. However, I've run into what was seemingly like a minor problem, but then turned into another problem. So let me just cover that. So I pulled out all those nails that I had popped out just halfway. They all came out fine, no problem. And then I'm thinking about how I'm going to stick the new piece of aluminum behind the existing sheathing. And I'm looking at some of these nail holes, and some of them are pre-drilled. So I think either the sheathing came like that from the factory, or the people who were putting up this aluminum sheathing drilled them. However, when they put the old piece of aluminum sheathing like smack dab over this, boom, like right up against the wall, they nailed into it, like for example here, and just nailed right through this back piece of aluminum. And what that did was it left a small like breakout. So it's only maybe a 1/16 of an inch here, and there's a bunch of them that they nailed that old piece of aluminum to. Now the problem with that is when you slip in the new sheathing, it's going to keep it away from this by about a 1/16 of an inch. And I probably could have just pounded on it this way with a hammer and flattened this out, but I really wanted to take a Dremel and just get rid of all of these extra breakouts all the way along here, because there's quite a few of them all the way down the line. And that way the new sheathing, when it slips in here, will fit right up next to the outer sheathing aluminum. So the only way to do that was to remove the two 2x6s that were here and here. And there they are on the floor. And they turned out to be, well, I'm not going to say they were rotted, but they were getting a little soft down at the bottom here and just not looking all that healthy. So after I took them out, I'm looking down here and I'm going, well, this sill here, right here, isn't looking too healthy either. So in order to at least cut out up to here, I can't get a saw in there, so I have to remove some more of the nails of this piece of sheathing. And I'll prop this up and I'll cut at least back to here and then put a new 2x6 in all the way to the other side. And then once I got all that done and I've got these little breakouts removed, see, they're everywhere, boom, here, here, they're even up here. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with those just yet. I really don't want to take this off, but if I have to, I will. And then I can actually start to do the install of the piece of sheathing that I cut. All right, so that's it for the moment. I got my work cut out for me, so I'm moving along. Quick update on the door. So I was able to prop this piece of aluminum out, so it pulls away from the wall here like this, and then cut off that little end piece of the sill plate. Here it is. It's actually, once I cut it off, let's see, how's that go? Yeah, okay. So once I cut that little bit off, the rest of the sill plate from here back looked pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Even you can see on where this was cut, it's still not too bad. It's split here, and there is a little bit of a split in the sill plate, but again, I'm not really too worried about that. So then I cut a 2x6 here. I used one of the uprights that was on either this side or that side for the sill plate because it's treated lumber, and it was looking pretty good, or at least a section of it. The first piece I cut had a twist to it, so it was rocking back and forth. So I scrapped that one, cut another one and put this one in, and then I caulked underneath the bottom of this, caulked on the ends, and stuck it in there, and then screwed it in. And then I cut 3 2x6s here, so I got a new one here, here, and here. They're in place now, and I also I was able to use the Dremel to get rid of all of those little breakouts on the back side of the sheathing so that the new sheathing will slip in and sit flush with this outer sheathing. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to try and slip that in now and just kind of test fit it and see how that goes. All right, moving on. All right, so here's where I'm at. I got the piece of metal slipped in behind the outer sheathing, which was a small skirmish instead of a battle, but I got it in there and it did slide in okay. And then what I did, I put this board down and I piled a bunch of small pieces to hold the sheet up just to the bottom of each of the outer pieces of sheathing so it's nice and level. And then at the top I drilled some holes for 3 nails. I can show them. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so nails there, there, and there, and they're smooth. So the thought is that tomorrow what I can do is to caulk this. I'll be able to slide out both the outer sheathing and the inner sheathing and put caulk behind this sheathing on the inside, push it back, and then open or pull the outer sheathing away from this middle piece here, put caulk behind it, and then button it up with the stainless steel screws. So that's the plan. I hope it works, but you know, I think it's a solid plan. It seems like things are sliding around okay, and it's not going to move from where it is now because it's been pinned in place by those 3 nails at the top. And then of course I'll remove the nails when I'm done and I'll put screws in there. But that's where I'm at the end of the day. Oh, and I forgot to mention, up here where I had a couple of those breakthroughs here and here, what I did, I didn't get the Dremel up in there because I couldn't without removing that board on the inside. So what I did was I just drilled them out. I made the hole wider, and it just got rid of that metal that was broken through, and that made it flat on the inside. So that took care of that. And that's where I'm at the end of the day. So hopefully tomorrow, all I got to do is caulk and then screw it in, and then maybe do some caulking on the inside. So that's it for today. Here's what it looks like from the inside. And what I did was I put about 8 screws on the outside through both the outer sheathing and this piece that covers the doorway, just to button it up until tomorrow. I can pull them out and do my caulking, so it seals it up pretty nice. But given all the extra work that had to get done today, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out and where I'm at in the process. So yeah, literally just caulk tomorrow and screw it in, and that will be it. Okay, I'm glad to be where I'm at. Bye-bye. It's the next day, and I'm about to do all the caulking on the back door with this piece of aluminum that I've put into place. And I just wanted to show that it is actually working what I had done. I'm able to prop open this piece of aluminum away from the studs, and so I'll be able to get caulk all the way around this whole piece, and then I'll do the same thing on the outside between the outer sheathing and this piece of aluminum here. And also I'll caulk down here as I move to each side. I can get in there and get some caulk in there. So yeah, that idea seems to be working so far. I'm sure it's going to get a little messy, but yeah, I think it'll work. All right, talk to you later. All right, Wednesday, November 5th. Didn't get a whole lot done today, but I did get one task done that I am super happy to be done with. So let's go look at this back piece of aluminum that I installed. All right, earlier we said we're about to caulk it and then screw it in. So let's see. There it is, all in place, caulked inside, outside, and screwed in with the stainless steel screws with the bonded neoprene washers. I kind of ran out of those, so I'm going to pick up some more. So all I did was use plain old stainless steel screw, like for example down here. Yeah, I just had the screw in there, but I wanted to get something in there to hold it against the wall while the caulk was pliable and would kind of squish as the sheathing was pulled towards the building. So there's a bunch more. There's a couple up here. This whole row is kind of just without the neoprene washers, but no big deal. I can pop them out, put the washers on, and put the screw back in. And then I've got to do a coat of paint or two on this. You can see there's a definite color difference between here and touch up down here. So yeah, it's a little bit more to do. Let's go inside. I'll show you how it's been caulked up from the inside. This is one job I am happy to be done with. It was a long time in coming. So, all right. Also, I'm waiting another day or two for these light bars to dry. The caulk seems to be drying unevenly. Like some of them, like this one and that one, no problem. They're basically done. But over here and that one and these still look like they're not dry. You can tell because you can see, once it's dry, you can see the little light mechanism underneath the caulk, but I can't, this is still very cloudy here. So I'm going to give them another couple days to dry, because once I seal them up in the clamshell together, there's no way for it to dry. So I gotta have them dry before I put them together. All right, so then back here, we are all caulked up, mostly anyway, along the floor, along the studs. I think I need to do a bead up here still, so we got a little bit more to do. I need some more caulk. I have some, but I just haven't gotten to doing this little bit up here, but I am going to need more. And then, like I said, we got to bring this up a little bit and maybe bring that up a little bit. But it looks good from the inside. And then also one more thing. I don't know if you can see this. It's hard, but this was a hole. So I bought these little aluminum circle things that I just put some caulk on and patched up the hole. Well, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little holes to patch up. No biggie, but I got to get it done. And that's pretty much it. Then I just cleaned up all my tools and put most everything away as best I could. And then we'll start on another project tomorrow. So, all done with that. Almost. Talk to you later. End of day. Just got finished putting a coat of paint on this sheet of aluminum that was installed today. And I did a little over here as well and tried to patch up a little bit of where I had sanded off the paint. I think I'm probably going to leave it as is. This particular sheet has a lot of drips and runs on it, so most likely it's going to have to be sanded and repainted at some point in the future. And I had a thought maybe sandblasting would work, although sandblasting on aluminum, I'm not sure if it would damage it or not. Maybe you have to try it on a test piece and see what happens. But yeah, if that works, then it would go a heck of a lot faster than trying to sand all these drip marks off the back of the Quonset hut here. So yeah, it's a thought. Anyway, talk to you tomorrow. Thursday, November 6th. It's late afternoon. Not the most productive day, but I did get some things done. I'm trying to work out the details of the dimensions for the OSB that's going to go on these shelving units. Here, let me switch. Okay, so that's the first one that's done. I got this rolling cart built today, and then I got this first piece of OSB cut, and then on it I have this piece of lath on the ends and the back, just to keep things from falling off the back, because Boy, that does happen. Or off the sides. You're trying to pile stuff on there and it falls off. So it's pretty cheap stuff, so I'm gonna get some more of it, and yeah, I'll do it for every shelf on the way up. So yeah, I've been just kind of working out those details, how to cut it. So the first one's always the hardest, and then I got a little template here for marking the corners where to cut out, and it's looking like the light bars are doing a little better. I'm starting to see a little bit more clearness, a little bit more. So it's still going to be a day or two before they finally dry. This one and that one's still are cloudy. I'm starting to see through that. I'm starting to see through that. This one's good. That's good. That's good. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, it's getting there. So hopefully in another couple of days I can put all these together and then start to put them up. All right, that's it for Thursday. Talk to you on Friday. It is Friday, November 7th, end of the week, and time for a weekly wrap-up. Not the most productive day, but I did get some things done. I'm starting to get into sort of a rhythm for cutting these OSB pieces for the shelving unit. So I got one almost done. Let me flip this around. All right, so light bars still need some drying, but here is one shelf unit complete. You can see I've got an extra piece cut already, and some of the pieces for going around the back and the sides of each shelf. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And back this out a little. Yeah, I'm happy with it. It makes putting things on these shelves a lot easier to organize. And as you can see, this one's kind of taken on its own category of electrical and lighting, but I am going to remove everything from these shelves and put a coat, probably 2 coats of paint on them. I'll probably just use the Southern Peach. I got extra of that at the moment. So yeah, that'll just, I don't know, just seal it, make it look a little nicer. It's not really necessary, but yeah, you know, I've come this far. I might as well go the whole way. So yeah, and I've only used 1 sheet of OSB so far for this whole shelf unit. I've got an extra one here. So I figure it was a 1 sheet, so that's 2 sheets, 3 sheets, 4 sheets, and then maybe a 5th sheet for this one. So that'd be 5 sheets for all these rolling shelf units, and then, you know, tackle the other rolling carts that I got going on. But yeah, this is kind of my mess here, where I'm rolling out the pieces to be put on these shelf units. Well, that's all I really have for you today. Sorry there wasn't much more than that, but kind of happy to have worked out the details of that. I actually have a little template that I made. This is what I use to cut out the corners once I cut the piece. So it's each piece is actually 18 inches wide and 3 feet long. So I cut at 18, cut it off at 3 feet, and then use this to mark the corners and then cut them out. And then the little pieces that go on the sides, yeah, I'm kind of got an assembly line to cut them out too. So, all right, I'm rambling. So talk to you next week. Take care. Decided to throw a quick coat of paint on one of these shelves, and I'm thinking this looks fine. Just one good heavy coat, that ought to do it. So we'll see how it dries tomorrow, but from what I can see, you know, one good solid heavy coat, and I'm going to call it good as long as it dries well. So yeah, that'll make things a little easier. Won't have to wait to do multiple coats. All right, that's it.